What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. On today's walk and talk, I really am going to be leveraging my 18 years of experience in Japan for today's topic, because I'm going to be talking about how Japan has improved in the time that I've lived here. Now, I always talk about Japan's society, life, and culture from the point of view of a long-term foreign resident, but today I'm really going to look back over the years and kind of analyze how things have improved in my life, or ways that I've seen Japan improve in general. And I want to share those with you today. So let's go. Let's talk about how Japan has become better in the past 18 years. Roll intro. Okay, before I get started, I just want to say we are reaching a milestone. We are almost to 10,000 subscribers, minus 9,000 and a little. So if you want to help us on this journey to the milestone, please subscribe. We'll reach the intermediate milestone of 1,000 subscribers first, and then hopefully make 10,000 soon enough. And if you genuinely enjoy the video, please consider hitting the like button, because that helps get my video out to a wider YouTube audience. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the first reason that Japan has improved in the past 18 years. And I should say that actually it's the past 20 years, because I first arrived in 2002. I just wasn't in Japan for 3 years, from 2005 to 2008, because I was in graduate school in the States. So actually, it's the past 20 years that Japan has improved in my personal experience. And this first one I'm going to talk about is actually something that's improved all over the world. Like, it's not just Japan, but I'm bringing it up because in particular in Japan, this has been really, really helpful just by nature of, I guess, Japanese zoning and Japanese address systems, and that is the use of mobile and GPS devices in order to find places in Japan. Tokyo, Yokohama, countryside, whatever. Of course, mobile devices and GPS have improved that all over the world, but you see, in Japan presents some particularly Japanese difficulties. The first being that streets don't have names in Japan. This street I'm on here right now does not have a name. National roads will have like numbers assigned to them, but you can't give someone directions by saying, okay, turn left on Fuji Boulevard and then take a right on Yamanashi Street. Like, you can't do that in Japan. So you have to navigate by landmarks, or at least before GPS technology, you had to navigate by landmarks. And you can see this as a remnant on Japanese websites still. If you go to a Japanese business website and you click the access link, very often there will be a series of photos there that show you landmarks to follow to reach their business, because just giving an address is not going to help unless you're the post office who knows how the system works. So you'll often see like photos. They'll be like, okay, this 7-Eleven is here, and you make a right, and then there's a brick-faced building which you will need to turn left at, and then when you reach a McDonald's, 3 buildings down, we're on the 3rd floor, kind of thing. So that's how all navigation was back when I first got here. I'd go to meet friends at a restaurant in Shibuya, for example, and basically what usually ended up happening would be I would pull out my old style mobile phone and call my friends and say, hey, look, I have no idea where you guys are. Can one of you come down onto the street and take me up to the restaurant, because I'm totally clueless as to where this place actually is. So those days are gone, thankfully. Now, a second way that Japan has improved in the past 20 years is the availability of ATMs for which to get cash. Pretty much every convenience store now, you can go into, use a foreign bank card or a Japanese bank card and get cash anytime, 24/7. Back in the day, and I would say 10 years ago and before, this just was not possible. I will never forget my first bank holiday experience. It was a 3-day weekend. I spent my money on Saturday and Sunday, and it was Monday and I thought, okay, I need cash. I'll just go to the ATM because the ATM corner is separate from the bank. It won't be a problem. Oh, it was a problem. The ATM corner was shuttered, dark, and closed because apparently in Japan, ATMs need holidays too. They got to go to the beach and the ski resorts and take a dip in a hot springs just like the rest of us. I mean, the bank was closed and that made sense because it was a bank holiday, but why the ATMs had to be closed, I have no idea. And if you were reliant on a foreign bank card back in those days, you pretty much only could go into a bank or a post office in order to get money from that card. And then you were beholden to bank hours, which in Japan is until 3 p.m. and post office is open till 4 or 5 depending on the branch. That means that if you were after hours and you needed cash, in a society that pretty much cash is still the main vehicle for spending, you're out of luck. But those days are gone. Go to 7-Eleven, go to Family Mart, wherever, you can find an ATM that will give you money, thankfully. Okay, the third thing I'm going to talk about is another availability issue, and that is the availability of foreign products and goods, particularly food. Now, back in the day when I first moved to Japan, if I went into a local supermarket and went to the spice aisle or spice rack, you would pretty much find salt, pepper, Japanese shiso, the Japanese red pepper like shichimi, and maybe basil and oregano and that kind of thing. You could not get a variety of spices for cooking. And that was troublesome because I didn't know how to make Japanese food at that point for cooking in my own home. So nowadays you can go in and you can find your cumin, you can find your turmeric, you can find your chili powder, whatever you're looking for, pretty much anywhere. So that has definitely changed. Now I'm from Wisconsin, so that means everything is all about cheese, and that's another place where things have improved greatly. Back in the day it was just processed cheese in the stores, and I think the trend started with camembert. I think camembert became popular, followed by brie and other kind of light tasting cheeses, followed by eventually stronger tasting cheeses, hard cheeses like cheddar and Gouda, and eventually blue cheeses as Japanese palates adjusted to cheese, basically. And now even your local supermarket out in the boonies will probably have at least a camembert, if not a brie, and maybe even a blue cheese selection. So that has definitely improved. And even if your super tiny town in the middle of nowhere doesn't have good cheese, these days you also have Rakuten and Amazon, so you can pretty much order anything you want and get it in a couple of days. Also, if you're in the larger urban areas, you have places like in Kanagawa, Yokohama, Kaldi Coffee Company, these stores that specialize in foreign import goods, and they've got a wide variety of really nice things. When you go into a Kaldi Coffee Company store, it's divided into sections. You've got like a Korean section, a Chinese section, Indian, Thai, Italian, American, basically anything you want to find ingredient wise, and full on foodstuffs or snacks. There's a pretty nice wide selection. I buy all of my olives at Kaldi because they're inexpensive and they come from Spain and Italy and are pretty good quality. So yeah, that's definitely a place where Japan has improved. Not just as a foreign resident, but Japanese people have really widened up their palates in terms of what they're willing to try and eat. Although I have to say that it was probably a really good experience for me back in the beginning to really kind of have to dive deeply into Japanese cuisine when I first got here, because I couldn't get the ingredients to cook much of anything else. Most of the restaurants in my town were Japanese food, with a few Italian restaurants and pseudo-American restaurants sprinkled in. But yeah, it was a good experience because I had to really learn about and kind of try everything when it came to Japanese food. So that was probably good for me to start off that way. Okay, before I get into the final thing I'm going to talk about today, I'm making it the final because, I could talk about a bunch of things, but the video would get too long, so I will probably do a future video where I talk about some more ways that Japan has improved in the past 20 years. And I'm also planning a video to kind of do a curmudgeonly rant about ways that Japan has not managed to improve in 20 years that I wish it had. So please look for that video when that comes out. But the last one today is a little bit controversial maybe. There might be people who disagree with this, so let me know in the comments if you disagree. But I'm going to assert that Japanese English ability has become so much better over the past 20 years. And I think there's several reasons for this happening, and I have some anecdotal evidence I want to share. The reasons are, well, first of all, economic. More college students and college graduates are looking for skills and knowledges that they can leverage to pursue interesting and different careers, because pretty much gone are the days when you could just get a Japanese company job and have the famous lifetime employment and just go through your career with that company and never really have to worry about anything. That is just not common anymore. And so current students are looking for ways and other skills to basically have a better chance or have more options for when they graduate. Also, on the economic theme, there's been a huge, at least before Corona, there's been a huge tourist boom in Japan of foreign tourists. And so more and more local businesses like restaurants and shops have tried to pick up English in order to, appeal and be able to welcome foreign guests, as well as people who looked at this as an opportunity to be an entrepreneur and start a business for tourists, and they needed to learn the English to be able to handle that. Back in the day, the tourism industry was much more oriented towards domestic tourism, and you just didn't have a lot of people bothering to learn English in that capacity, but that has definitely changed. Another reason I believe English has improved in Japan is there has been an effort to reform the education system. So first of all, English is being taught in elementary schools now rather than starting in junior high school. And I know that several school districts, including Yokohama, have done serious reforms of curriculum to be more communicative-based classes and more skills-based rather than just studying grammar. And even involving like teacher retraining. I know they've been going about that route as well to make English basically more useful for their students rather than just another academic topic. And the result is that I have genuinely seen better English in my university. So back in the bad old days when I first started in 2009, if you were a second or third year student who was forced to take a required English class, you were, as my director used to call it, a sausage in a room. Basically, you were just there for the attendance, didn't make any effort, just kind of sat there and did nothing. Now, those students are motivated, they do a lot of work, they get into the activities. Our school has had to increase the number of elective English courses to make up for the demand of students who want to take elective English. And test scores have improved as well. I mean, it's not just how I feel about my classroom, but the actual test scores have gone up. If you're taking TOEFL or TOEIC as a student at my university, a lot more students are passing out of the required courses and never even having to take them. And basically, scores are up, effort is up, enthusiasm is up, motivation is up, and I feel that even though it's anecdotally only my university that I'm talking about, my impression of general society as well is that English has improved and more people are able to use English at least at a sort of daily conversation dealing with customers skills level. So you may disagree with that assessment, but that's what I have seen and that's why it's on the list. Okay, so that's it. I have no more to share today, although I will, like I said, probably do another video where I share a few more things that have improved. But I hope if you liked this video and you haven't done so already, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. If you made it this far, come on, give me a subscribe. And I want to thank you very, very much for watching this particular video, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.